Man, was UFC 205 a good show. I mean, like, it really was probably the best MMA event I had ever been to in my life, or just had the pleasure of being around. Hey everybody, what's up? It's Wednesday, the Wednesday after UFC 205, November 16th, and I just wanted to give a quick recount of everything that happened that weekend. I mean, I've been in Madison Square Garden for pro wrestling events like Raw and Raw. I've been there for stand-up comedy stuff. I've been there for bull riding. And I cannot say that I have ever seen a promotion do what the UFC did at Madison Square Garden UFC 205 on Saturday. I mean, it was a long time coming for MMA in New York. Really was. I mean, it just was amazing. If you follow me on Twitter at Carbazel, this is a Carbazel MMA podcast. I should probably change that name. But anyway, if you follow me on Twitter at Carbazel, and it's the same on Periscope, I was Periscoping an hour before the first prelim started with the Fight Pass prelim. I just walked around the garden and I streamed a video from Periscope just showing people like the fan fest. So the whole 33rd Street was that plaza that they have. It's just blocked off, that one block, that side of Madison Square Garden. The UFC set up their big UFC letters that they always set up everywhere when they have an event. Like it's usually in front of the Prudential Center when they're in the Prudential Center, and in front of the T-Mobile Arena when they do stuff in T-Mobile. Everybody likes to take pictures in front of it. It was in front of the Fan Expo at the Expo Hall in Las Vegas. Those big letters were there. People were doing their photo ops. A lot of UFC athletes were there. I had the pleasure of talking to Aljamain Sterling briefly in July. I actually comment and communicate with him more on Twitter, but I know he doesn't know that the Carbazel handle is me. So when I meet him face to face, I feel like we should have better conversation. And then Flow Combat had a Flow Combat Fan Fest meet and greet at the Beer Authority after weigh-ins that Friday. And he was supposed to show up there, but I had to catch a train back home, so I left early and I missed him there. So I'm going to get to talk to that dude one day and just chill out with him, because he seems like a really cool guy. And there's actually 6 degrees of separation there. I won't get into that, but I train with folks that train with folks that train with him. Anyhow, so if you like mixed martial arts and you're really into the sport, I'm pretty sure most sports have their own little forums and forum communities, but so there is a website, the MMAcommunity.com, that a lot of people that are not just fans, but like people like myself that try to cover the sport for media and commentators like Jimmy Smith, Elias Theodorou, cutmen that work in the industry. They're all in the forums and they like interacting there. And the MMA community is probably one of the most mature, friendly ones to do that in. And in that, a lot of people wind up, I mean, you make new friends in these forums. And there's a guy, he's known on the internet as the world's biggest mixed martial arts fan or something like that. His name's Matthew Hawkins. I had the chance to meet him. We hung out the day of weigh-ins. We had drinks. I mean, it was such a great time. And then just talking to the guys from Flow Combat, I finally got to tell Dwayne Finley how much I liked his writing and just his that personal connection he gives so many people by his experiences with these athletes that we admire and watch compete in mixed martial arts. So it was a really good time. However, obviously, if you listened to my picks last week, I guess I was 50-50 in my picks. My analysis is like I got to figure out a way to do one of these things live, because stuff that I call out when I watch these fights, you guys would probably appreciate more. So I'll talk about some of that stuff now because not everybody I picked obviously won, and there was stuff that they did that I was just, and it's funny because actually one fight, obviously the main event in particular, you guys know, just because and Eddie Alvarez is still a great fighter. People, there's that saying, some days you're the hammer, some days you're the nail. And I mean, that can go physically, mentally, and training, whatever you want to call it. So I guess we'll just jump right on the main event, Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. So a couple of days after, I actually wrote the article. You can go to frontproofmedia.com, and his Instagram post is on there where he talks about how he didn't follow his game plan. And what he talks about what the game plan was versus what he did that night, I was yelling out as I was watching the fight that he kept circling into Conor's he kept the left straight that Conor throws. He keeps circling into it, throw leg kicks. I was just yelling it out, and then when he confirmed it on his Instagram post, I was just like, wow, It makes me wonder, and I'm thinking about writing something about it. It makes me wonder because like him and Chris Weidman also lost, but they also like mentioned the weight of the event and what it meant to them to finally make it to Madison Square Garden, someplace that people in this sport thought they would never fight in because of the corruption that led with the ban in the sport for the last almost 20 years in New York. So, I mean, that's part of what made it so great, but I feel like that might have been part of why these guys lost. So, I don't know. Everybody has an off night, and Eddie Alvarez is not the type of guy that'll stay with that loss. I'm sure his next fight will be a win. But we got to worry about now we have to worry about the lightweight and the featherweight division and how competitive is that going to be? If you remember when Tony Ferguson lost, he didn't even have a comment or anything to say about. When he won his fight, and he was asked about 205 because obviously the result would, if you follow rankings, the result would affect him. He had nothing to say because it's like McGregor says he's taking a break. He gets these 2 titles and he wants to take a break. He's going to be a father. Everyone can respect that. But you got to defend the titles, and people like Frankie Edgar are losing out on a title fight. He's talking about moving to bantamweight just to stay active, and it's like the term that he's holding the titles hostage. It seems highly likely that he is. So you got to worry about there's 2 divisions now that these guys are fighting to reach the top of something. I mean, right now with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson, are they going to wind up fighting each other for an interim title, or does Frankie Edgar, he fights someone else for an interim title? Is he going to fight Jose Aldo again? Is that what Jose Aldo the interim title? Are the interim titles going to go away with the new ownership? I mean, what's going on here? And McGregor's talking about how he wants to. He doesn't want to make a move until he gets a bigger piece of the pie. He said at the post-fight interview he wants an ownership stake in the company. I mean, that's balls to ask for something like that, but it's also like really smart that he did, because a lot of the numbers that they predict, the money he makes for the events that he headlines, obviously he's a moneymaker, so it looks like he's got some bargaining chips there, but I'm trying to think. And then another fight, obviously, that stood out, they gave it fight of the night, the bonus, Tyron Woodley and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I mean, I saw it as a draw, or no, I saw it as a split decision for Woodley, only because of his takedowns, and he seemed to have more control. But again, with the significant strikes that landed, I mean, they're kind of back and forth. So I guess the majority draw was a good call. But so they're going to do it again, apparently. So that'll be settled soon enough. But the fighters that I did call that that won, like Jim Miller won, Frankie Edgar won. So Jersey fighters did pretty good on the Madison Square Garden card. So there's a lot that can come of it. But obviously the biggest question is the two featherweight and lightweight titles and what's going to happen with them now that McGregor's holding them both. But one title that we don't have to worry about is the middleweight title. Yoel Romero. I mean, I wanted Chris Weidman to win, considering he won for New York. I'm hoping he'll bounce back once he's all healed up. They just released the suspension list. I think he's got 60 days because of his, he got finished with a knee to the head. But now it's going to be him and Michael Bisping, Yoel Romero rather, and Michael Bisping fighting for the middleweight title. I'm anxious to see it. Bisping, I think, said that he would retire if he lost the title. I would not be surprised if he did not lose, because he's been surprising the hell out of a lot of people lately. I mean, he outperformed Henderson. Say what you will about face damage, but he still had more significant strikes against Dan Henderson when he fought him in his native UK. So I wanted Henderson to win, but I was impressed with him, that fight. So there's a lot to look forward to from 205. UFC 205 really was the real UFC quote-unquote 200. They didn't do the drape over the cage like they did and the stuff that they did in Vegas, but I don't know. I think that there's a lot of good fights are coming off of what happened. They'll be back in New York. They're coming to Brooklyn in February. I'm hoping to. I mean, I'm always around it. So you guys, if you follow me on Twitter at Carbazel, I'll always be around it. But I just wanted to do the quick recap of those fights that stood out from UFC 205. If you're a fight fan and the MMA and any MMA is happening in New York, especially in Madison Square Garden, you need to get there. So if you're around New Year's Eve, Madison Square Garden, New York City, World Series of Fighting is doing their next event on New Year's Eve, WSOF NYC. I think if you go to WSOF.com/NYC, you can get the tickets for that event there. It should be a good time. I mean, I'm telling you, just being in Madison Square Garden for a sport you love it's always different than anywhere else you watch it. I've been to the casinos, T-Mobile Arena, MGM Grand, and this was nothing like any of that. Like this was just way more amazing. Just everybody like cheering together. I've never felt more connected to a crowd than I have at Madison Square Garden for a mixed martial arts event. So if you can get there, please get there. No matter what promotion you follow, I mean, just come and watch MMA in New York. It really was an amazing time. Speaking of time, I'm running out. So if you want to help me get more time, just head over to theblogboardjungle.com. And you buy anything on Amazon, you can buy stuff through any of the Amazon links at theblogboardjungle.com. And thanks for listening. Check out frontproofmedia.com for all my MMA articles. And if you follow me on Twitter, at Carbazel, you will see a lot of the stuff that I put on Periscope when I'm at these things. I usually comment and put up other videos and pictures. But it's blowing up here, man. There's a lot going on. So please follow Front Proof Media. Follow me, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. See you next Wednesday.